Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. Please, I will request everyone to keep their mic off and open only when asked by the speaker or during the Q&A session. Our speaker for today is Aarti. She brings in 18 plus years of experience in human resources, talent acquisition and management. And Aarti is also an executive coach. Through her enterprise, Mind in Transition, she supports individuals and organizations reach their better version. I would request Aarti to start. Aarti, please, can you
Yeah,
start?
thank you. Thank you, Session. Can you hear me?
Yes, your voice is loud and clear.
Okay, loud and clear. Great. So, thanks to you for the wonderful introduction and welcome in everybody. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Aarti, and I hope the screen is visible. Is it visible, Sachin? Sachin, is the screen visible?
Yeah, visible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So, this is just a profile of mine, and to what Sachin has already said, I would like to add a tiny bit with his permission. So, I'm the founder of Minds in Transition, which offers coaching, which is life coaching, professional coaching, behavioral training, as well as strategic HR consulting. And I'm a solopreneur, a doting mom, and a learner. I enjoy partnering with people and organizations, supporting them in meeting their better versions. Let me just bring it here. Yeah. So, as a practitioner of the Sanatana Dharma or eternal way of living, I believe in the ways of the universe and that we are designed for the benefit of others. So, I'm using this as my North Star to be guided with my life decisions as well as professional decisions. And hence, these are some things that I'm offering using the experience and qualification that I have. And I'm learning, and I'm also in the journey of learning. So, yes, without much ado, I'm moving on to the agenda of today's webinar, which is coaching in talent management. So, what's in it for you? I'm sure the audience here is from various walks of life. So, this webinar will be useful for business owners and leaders in case they are looking out for some kind of a support which is beyond training and development for their employees talent management, then this is a topic that they may be interested in. The second set of audience who may like this is aspiring HR training or organization development professionals, especially if uplifting people is your calling and you really would like to leverage your experience and life experience and wisdom and all of it, then coaching is something that you may want to explore. We will see it later. And for anyone in this room seeking personal growth, you will discover that there is one more route other than training and development that's available for you in this world, and that's coaching. So, yes, talent management. Um, Before I proceed with this, I would like to familiarize some of you with this word or jargon called talent management. So, talent management, simply put, is managing the talent of the employees. It can also be managing the talent available in our own family, managing our own talent as well. So, if I were to just talk from an organization perspective, organizations engage or have a department called training and development or any other team to have talent management to ensure that the performance meets standards. So, an example could be in a manufacturing company, get trained on how to manufacture a particular product. Or say in a customer care call center, the employee has to get trained to improve proficiency in a particular language to address customer queries. So these are the minimum performance standards that are required to deliver a product or a service. So there is something called as a training that happens. So that's a kind of talent management. The second kind of talent management is where a person handles a new role, where a person has to handle a new role well. He's put into it and he has to start handling it well. An example could be, say, being an HR manager, but asked to take care of the ISO certification initiative for a particular company. So all this while you've been working as an HR manager, and suddenly the management says, look, we are not going to have a department for quality. And from this day on, I want you to start taking care of the ISO certification initiative or a CMMI level implementation. So you're really not so equipped for it, but then you have to take it up and you have to perform it well. So this is an area, again, talent management has to happen. The third area is where the team has to gear up for the dynamics in the market or sudden client requirements. An example could be, say, a regular pharmaceutical company R&D, the team being asked to come up with a vaccine, a classic case that's going on around the world right now, or a team of specialists, doctors coming together to perform a rare surgery. So a surgeon from this hospital, probably an anesthetist from this hospital, and maybe a different team, all of them come together to a particular hospital where there is maybe a celebrity or any other patient, and they have to perform a rare surgery. So this is a case, a sudden client need or a market situation where people have to gear up. The next one is the leadership development. Leadership development is a big blanket word. There are a lot of nitty-gritties within leadership, but one example could be, say, a very contented individual contributor who now has no choice but to handle a team. So there are many of us who are very shy, and we are happy to sit with our systems and keep doing our work. I'm also one such person. But sometimes there is a situation where you are thrown into this position, or you're promoted into a team lead or a manager or something, and you have to handle a team. So then there are a lot of things. It's never like they happily lived ever after. The problem starts then. So talent management comes there. And finally, it's succession planning. Any organization, I think even in family, right, we always have to groom the next in line captains and soldiers to face the world or face the client's requirements. So these are just a few things that I have sprinkled here where management comes into place. I wouldn't say this is exhaustive, but broadly this is where talent management comes. So in our session, we will see how coaching is going to fit into all of this in just a minute. Before I get into coaching, let me talk about this particular department called as the Learning and Development Department, or the training department of the companies. And if you take any organization, uh, whether it is a software company or hospital or factory setup or a packaging, any industry, training and development is normally in place where you have employees. And what normally happens is identifying the training needs, analyzing if this is the kind of training that we require, then organizing the training programs department wise, impart the new skills using your internal trainers or external trainers, or improve the existing skill level. I may be at this particular skill, but then I have to go to the next level of proficiency, and from there to the next level of proficiency. There again, the training is once again important. And then once the training is imparted, there is an assessment. It could be a test or on the job monitoring or evaluation. So this kind of an assessment happens periodically thereafter. And if the person is found wanting, the training programs are once again organized. So when this happens, it ensures employees have what it takes to meet the standards, the very standards which we saw in the previous slide. At least, if I have promised that I'm somebody who manufactures pickles, I better ensure that my employees are trained well enough to make the right composition of each pickle flavor. So at least for me to survive in the business, I have to have this, meeting the standards part. Now comes the other department or the other team, which is called as the organizational development team. Now, what happens is this is slightly a bigger picture, and things that are taken care of in OD that we normally call are organization performance management. So here we are not monitoring the performance of one individual, but we are talking about the performance of an entire organization. Are each of the departments in it working well? Are all the systems collaborating well with each other? Are there loggerheads between departments, which will be there? And then conflict resolutions, the big workforce planning, all these topics. Then OD also involves creating the big, huge changes like the policy changes or a cultural change, bringing about a cultural change in the organization, or the organization structure itself goes through some kind of a change. So these are the big, big changes which help thrive, which help the organization thrive in this VUCA world. For the uninitiated, VUCA is a jargon that's used. It's basically an acronym used for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And that's how the world is always. This pandemic is just one example that we all have, but then almost every day, all of us are living in this VUCA world, right? There is a lot of uncertainty and volatility and the rate of change. Some situations, some events happen, and then we are not able to make the meaning of it. So when all these things happen, it's the OD team that takes care of it. And the landscape of OD, normally looks like this. A little different from what you saw in the previous slide. So it could be a conflict resolution happening in the organization, or you hire a subject matter expert like this, and get him or her to give you this chief advice, right, on things. Or an HR consultant comes in and gives you those policy advices, etc. And then most recently, at least in Asia, there is this new initiative called as coaching that happens, this one-on-one coaching. As you can see in the picture, it was a perfect picture that I could pick from the internet, because it's a heart-to-heart conversation, like that lady is showing. It's a heart-to-heart conversation, and we as coaches play this role sitting here. All right, so with this we segue into this world of coaching. What is it? In a nutshell, if I have to just define it, it's a catalyst for long lasting positive change in personality. So we saw that in the training and development slide, we had people how to do packaging. We saw people learning a particular language, maybe a C, C++, Java, or whatever, or the doctors, the junior doctors learning how to perform a surgery and all of it. Right. So that's training, okay, but that's a skill based coaching, if you may want to call it, because oftentimes when I introduce myself as a coach to people, at least in Asian countries, excepting a few companies which have got in-house coaches, most of them think I'm a coach who trains people or coaches people to appear for MBA entrance exam or a NEET exam, or they ask me, are you a fitness coach, right? So I wouldn't blame them, or maybe a cricket coach or a tennis coach. So I wouldn't blame them, because coaching as such has been long associated with a skill based training or a coaching, which is right in its own way. But what we are now talking about is a personality change, that happens, right? So let me, if I have to show you the example well, what I will have to do is, take you through a sample conversation that happens between two individuals. Okay, so let's just, for an example, take this case of, client Jen, and she wants to learn car driving, and she has invested in a trainer. This is her trainer. So a sample conversation between both of them could go something like this. Okay, so the trainer says, this is the time you should learn to overtake vehicles on the road. And Jen says, I'm scared to overtake this truck. I see. What you must do is this: slide slightly to the right, maintain safe distance behind the truck, watch out for the oncoming vehicles. Once it looks safe, shift the gears to propel, then shift up to accelerate. Now center yourself on the road, maintain a safe distance between yourself and the truck that you have overtaken. So, this is typically a training session analogy. Now, what happens with the coaching part, right? So, again, I'm bringing in Jen, and she has brought in a coach for herself. A sample conversation can be like this. So, the coach asks in the first place, what's your goal now? And she says, I really want to overtake vehicles in front of me, but I'm scared. What makes overtaking important for you? That'll make me proficient and confident with driving. Fair enough. And how would you like to deal with this fear? I guess I'm going to try overtaking anyway. I've been fearing for quite a while now. I don't want to prolong this anymore. What will you experience once you've overtaken successfully? With a huge relief in her voice, Jen says, oh my God, I'd feel like an equal to other drivers on the road. Hmm, that sounds like you want to embrace your fears, conquer it today, and drive like a boss. Yeah, exactly. That's what I want to do. Now that you're convinced about your goal, what prior knowledge do you have about overtaking? Well, I'm aware of the step by step process of overtaking vehicles. Oh, great. So, how would you like to begin now? And thus, the conversation goes on. for the next 45 minutes or 60 minutes, the first coaching session with them, till the coach gets the client to commit to specific action items and then only leave the session. So this is a sample conversation between coaching and training. Now, I would like to know, what differences did you as audience observe between the two approaches? So the audience may unmute and speak, or maybe put it out on the chat box.
Aarti, can I
Yes,
talk?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I feel the second one, namely the coaching method of bringing a skill to the personality,
Yeah.
makes two things. One is to make him to think and absorb things, do that. Second thing, it makes him to commit himself that the way in which he has to do that.
Yeah. Makes him or her think as to what
Yeah,
solution they want at that moment, what their
yeah.
strategy
One
is.
again, then and that statement is a committed statement.
Yeah.
That is the way I would like to do.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Maybe there may be some, there may be something wrong. That doesn't matter. But then the coach is there to probably to redefine their way of doing things. I think that's the way to go.
Right. I'm taking a couple of things that you rightly said here, sir. One is, getting the person to commit to an action item or a strategy that they think is right for them, vis-a-vis, I'm just going to the previous slide, vis-a-vis where the trainer says, look, you should learn to overtake now, right? So here the coach is saying, what's your goal now? What are you comfortable doing now? Are you comfortable now or not? Right? Where would you like to begin and all of that? Right. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to chime in? Okay. So these two are things, and there is a lot more that goes in terms of, as you can see, there is at every move the coach is very closely trailing the client and picks on the energy levels and what's coming out. What are some things the client has not said, but still the coach is picking on it and reflecting back to the client. So there is a lot of endorsement and encouragement. So this particular slide will really show you the differences between each of these interventions. And this is an analogy that my professor who was Dr. Ann Deaton, faculty at the University of Texas at Dallas, she very beautifully, I think, coined the differences between each of these interventions. So what she says is, the therapist will help find out what might be holding you back from driving the car. He would delve into your past to discover what kinds of experiences you've had with driving so you can liberate yourself before driving one now. So that's what a therapist will do. Now, what does a consultant or a trainer do? He will bring you an owner's manual and tell you everything you ever wanted to know about the workings of the car, the theory of driving, and an action plan. He will then leave you and may return 6 months later to see how you've managed the actual driving part. What does your mentor do? He will share his experiences of driving cars and the wisdom and lessons he's learned in his rich experience with them. Now, what does the coach do? The coach will seat you in the car, place himself in the passenger seat, and encourage, endorse, acknowledge, and support you until you develop your own driving style and feel comfortable enough to go it alone, right? So, all through this journey, what's important to know is your coach becomes your confidant, an active champion, cheering all the way as you take baby steps towards your goal. So, unlike in training where we have, if you have to finish this course on spoken English, I will give you 60 hours, and within 60 hours, you have to complete these concepts. practices, assessments. End of the 60 hours, I'll give you a certification. Now go practice, right? That is one. That's training. That's also essential. Okay. Coaching is where all through the journey, this person almost becomes like your best friend or a confidant, someone who keeps cheering you, and with whom, when I use the word confidant, it's because you're able to comfortably confide into your coach even your deepest fears and shortcomings, which you would otherwise not share with your even best of friends, because they might pass some kind of a judgment on you if you revealed it. But with a coach, that utmost comfort is something that is established. Of course, the responsibility to bring in that kind of a comfort or mutual trust in the relationship is in the hands of a good coach also, how he or she makes you feel. But a good coach will always do this. And when it comes to confidentiality, there is always a confidentiality agreement that is signed before a coaching session begins, however small the goal may be. Even if the client comes with a goal saying, you know what, I'm not able to wake up in the morning and go for my jogging for my weight loss journey. So, never mind, it may seem like a very trivial topic, but the moment two people get into a coaching engagement, it is imperative that a coaching agreement is signed between both of them, and the confidentiality clauses are maintained forever for the rest of the life. The coach cannot disclose it even to their girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, or anyone else. That's about it. It goes with them. That's it. Right. So, this is one side of the story. Now, we also understand from these examples that the foundational pieces of coaching, when does it become successful? It is a self improvement and personal growth program, slightly different from the cricket coach and fitness coach that we were talking about. This is more to do with self improvement, personal growth. It works only if there is a self initiated change. Very, very important to know about this particular block, because the moment somebody tells you, hey, I think you need to improve your personality, now I'm putting you for coaching, please attend it, it feels like you are being sentenced to coaching, and it'll never work. It'll only work when you feel, yeah, I'm not performing the role of a leader well, right? Or I'm having issues with my team interaction. I think I really need help. I want to change. So that constant uh, urge in you should keep happening. And only when you have that, and somebody, your organization or a parent or anybody helps you with coaching, then the change really happens. And in coaching, it's not all sweet and happy like you saw in the other example, where it's all about, oh, great, oh, wonderful, and things like that. Those appreciations are always there. But a good coach will always ensure that the client doesn't leave the meeting without committing into action items. And where required, the coach will definitely confront in a very positive manner, uh, to ask, if the client has been contradicting in what they are saying. A good coach will courageously confront them and reflect it back to them. So there is always an emphasis on action, accountability, and follow through. Every coaching session that they meet, there is a follow through of, hey, you said in the last session that you're going to do this, you said that you were going to wake up in the morning at 6:30, did you do that, etc. Now the client can always say that, well, I didn't do it, etc. Right? So it's not that the coach is going to shout at them. No. If the person has not done it, it is further explored as to what may be stopping them from doing it. So which means, is the client okay with waking up at a later time? So this is just a simple example that I'm giving you. So there is always accountability, follow through. And another important thing to note here is coaching is not therapy. It is not therapy. And this is a difference that we will see on this slide. So, for example, if a mental health practitioner had to plot our mental well being on this number line, where all of us know that, okay, this is the central neutral part, and this is the positive side increasing, and this is the declining side of the story. Um, what happens is, most of us might be falling somewhere here. The mental health practitioner may be plotting me at a 0, because I may be someone who is on a plane of saying, if somebody asks me, how's your life, I may be saying, what is there in life? Yeah, I just wake up in the morning, I have to cook, I have to go about my work, and that's it. What is there in life? There's nothing much, right? So if that is the kind, that's the plane at which I'm traveling, there is no real mental disorder or something that I'm going through. I'm just, quite mechanically going through my life, probably. And I'm not finding anything great about life itself. So chances are the practitioner may give me a score of 0 or a 1. I'm not sure. Okay. Somewhere there. Then I meet a particular friend. I ask my friend, hey, how's life? And this person says, oh, good. Yeah, I woke up in the morning, I finished my exercise, and I'm just going to do my cooking. And after that is office. Yeah, life is going good. So this person probably is still feeling good about life, though he or she is going through a routine life or itinerary. He or she may be at a 4. There may be someone else who is at a 7. Yeah, someone who's constantly being challenged, who's bogged down by a lot of life tragedies, etc., but still has the courage and is all pepped up every day. As they wake up, they look to new possibilities, they are hopeful of life, they want to learn something new in life. So this kind of a person really must be having a very good mental well-being despite all these tragedies and traumas that are hitting him or her. So the practitioner may be plotting this person at a 7 or an 8. Now, this number line, when I talk about flourishing, it doesn't talk about the financial status or a mental flourish, financial status of a person. It's purely about the positive well-being, or how positive the person feels about life and looks forward to life, looks forward to living life, right? So that's the um, number line that goes this way, and this one is vice versa. Now here it could be people with different kinds of mental disorders. I mean, all of us in fact are treading on that thin line. So mind is such a powerful thing, you never know when we may tilt on the green side or the red side. So it's a very thin line that we are all traveling on. So this side of the line is where it's a declining trend, and you may have people who go through extreme anger issues or a fear psychosis or several other suicidal tendencies or depression and several other things, where coaching is not the kind of help that will happen. So if you look at therapy, what happens is the person goes through therapy because they are suffering at these levels and they want to get out of that pain. So the therapist probably counsels them, gives them a therapeutic intervention, maybe medication, prescribes some medicines, etc. So all of it is done to ensure that the person travels this way down the line, so that they get out of that pain and they're able to at least, live life and survive. So that's about your therapy. Here, people are hopeful of coming through the pains, right? So they go to a therapist. When it comes to coaching, that's the example that I gave you. Somebody just wakes up rhetorically, nothing much to life. And if they would like to really progress on these levels, because every level on the number line that you move, your possibilities and your horizons really expand. You become capable of doing so much more, and you become ready to face challenges of life. And this is where coaching comes into the picture. So as against therapy, in coaching, people are excited about the possibilities that are in front of them. If I have to just take an example from our car driving analogy, so coaching helps you thrive, not just survive. I'm just going back to this conversation to show you some of these words which are underlined, right? So these are used on purpose by the coach, right? The coach says, fair enough. And how would you like to deal with this fear? The coach doesn't say, fair enough, but you're scared. How are you going to do? What are you going to do with that? There is no but, there is and. And these words, this is something that comes from neuro-linguistic programming, where the choice of words that we use when we talk to the other person, it literally has the effect of opening up the neural networks of the person. Another example could be something like this. Jen says, oh my God, I would feel like an equal to other drivers on the road if I overtake this truck successfully. Coach is reflecting back in a different way, saying, that sounds like you want to embrace your fears, conquer it today, and drive like a boss, right? This is said on purpose, because these are some words that really open up the neural networks. Jen probably might not have even thought about, driving like a boss. That imagery, creation of that imagery opens up possibilities for Jen. So she moves up slightly on the number line to say, oh, yes, I'm going to drive like a boss, right? And then, of course, things like, oh, great. So you already know the theory of overtaking, is it? Wow, wonderful, right? So some of these words are used on purpose, which opens up the possibilities. In coaching, the job of a coach, in a nutshell, is to create that kind of an awareness through powerful questioning and reflecting of the client's mind back to them. It's as if you have shown the mirror to what's going on, the thought process inside their mind, right? So you're reflecting back to them, and some deep hidden things actually come out, what we call as that aha moment in the brain, right? So there are a lot of neural networks and neurons inside our brain. Each of them, just imagine these are like those small bulbs, okay, or serial lights, and not every bulb is lighting up. Only some bulbs are lighting up. And which are those bulbs which are lighting up? Those relate to the kind of activities which we repeatedly do, like brushing the teeth or taking bath, or mechanically even looking at the mobile phone. You can just pick up your food and put it in your mouth. That's happening quite mechanically and very, very easily for you, because all these years it's so well seasoned. So the neurons which are pertaining to these activities are always glowing and lit up. But there are so many more neurons which are not lit up, because we human beings are not just using our potential at all. So during the coaching session, when you ask some powerful questions and reflect back some things, there is something called as the aha moment, which is nothing but a new light bulb glows inside the client's brain, right? So they are excited about it, and it is these kind of exciting moments which create those eureka moments in life, right? Something that gets you excited about taking that action, something adventurous that you've been long oscillating about, and suddenly you say, no, I am going to wake up tomorrow morning and go jogging. I am going to do this weight loss journey, right? So this is the kind of thing that happens with your coaching. Now I'm circling back to where we started, which is talent management objectives. We saw that in any organization or even for an individual, the performance has to meet standards. And we saw these examples: getting trained on how to manufacture a product, and the second one was about improving a language proficiency to address customer queries. Well, your training takes care of this. Now, if you had done coaching to your individuals, this is something more that can come as an outcome. It taps into the hidden potential in good performers also. It's not used as a corrective measure when people are failing in their performance. So, assuming all your employees have learned how to manufacture the product, you are still going further. You're identifying your high potential performers, you're giving them coaching to ensure that the performance exceeds standards, not just meets standards, right? So, that is one. The second objective that we saw earlier was to ensure that one handles a new role well. Example was being an HR manager. My boss has asked me to start taking care of quality initiatives also. If I had gone through the training as an HR, if I had gone through coaching, it would have helped the resource identify their forte and flourish, right? So maybe the manager asked me to get into quality department, or chances are I was, as an HR manager, not really liking the work I was doing, and I really wanted to go and talk to my boss saying, I really don't like this work, I want to get into quality, right? So the transition that I'm making, so it takes care of the employee aspirations and also cross functional opportunities. If that's what the company demands, then you can identify those resources, put them into coaching, get them excited about what they are good at. Deep within them, there will be discoveries about what they are proficient and what their forte is, and help them flourish. The next objective we saw was gearing up for dynamics in the market or sudden client needs. We saw the example of a pharma R&D, which is asked to come up with a vaccine all of a sudden, or a team of doctors coming for a rare surgery. If you had put them on coaching, what would happen is it'll help them thrive despite these kind of sudden changes. It helps them develop the courage to embark into an unknown territory, perhaps time and again, right? So it's not that your manager asks you to take up some new role or do something challenging just once in a lifetime. That's a situation that will keep repeating time and again. As long as as long as we are alive, as long as our career life is alive, I think these dynamics will keep happening, right? So that that small chip in the brain is activated to ensure that the person is always ready to face or embark into an unknown territory. And finally, we saw about the leadership development and succession planning. Couple of examples we saw where somebody who is just happy being an individual contributor now has to start handling team, and second was grooming the next in line people, captains or soldiers, right? So if you were to give them the coaching, what happens is coaching will celebrate each individual's uniqueness and strategies. I'm relating it to the car driving example with Jen. It was Jen's uniqueness or strategy to overtake the truck that day. If she wanted, she could have said, no, I think I'm going to try overtaking next month. That's completely her choice. So there is no pressure there. Okay. So the coach still travels and says, okay, so you want to wait till next month? Okay, fine, let's do it. Okay. So it celebrates each individual's uniqueness. It helps them take one baby step at a time to develop and fit into the new roles. So it's very difficult for a leader, somebody who's been promoted as a leader, to say that, look, today I've given you the promotion, and within the next 1 month you have to be that super duper leader. It's not possible at all. There are so many things that are there in the leadership. Somebody may be so bad with appreciating the team, somebody may be very bad at reprimanding the team, somebody may be bad at delegating to the team, right? So there are so many things. So you may want to take up each problem area of yours, get coached, come to it, fit into the role, take up the next goal, then fit into the role till you are full-fledgedly there, right? So this is how it relates to your talent management. And there are two ways coaching happens. One is the one-on-one coaching, and there is another one called group coaching, and these are the possible outcomes. With one-on-one coaching, the person is able to respond better to stressful situations, whatever they may be, in office or at home, whatever. They're able to navigate through dilemmas. Should I quit my job? Should I stay back in my job? What should I do? Right? Several crossroads are there. So they're able to navigate better. You're able to improve your team interaction skills. You're able to build on leadership skills, parenting skills, spiritual development, and fulfillment. These are some examples, just a handful examples of the kind of coaching goals that people come up with. Group coaching, these are some outcomes, possibly. People get support from each other from the group to make amends to their behavior and communication style. People are in a safe place to try out a new behavior and get feedback immediately from others in the group, because the entire group is going through coaching. So each of them are trying a different behavior, and the other person in the next session says, yeah, I saw Aarti actually appreciating her team better than she used to do. So that in itself is a motivation for me to try out the new behavior. Silos in the organization are broken and departments begin working in harmony, because normally in an organization, group coaching, we don't do it just for that particular team. If HR and marketing team are at loggerheads, or HR and finance is at loggerheads, we may have some high potential performers from each of these departments coming together for the group coaching. So uh, the silos and that is normally gone. People start working together. This makes the cross company collaboration possible, and gradually the fabric of the entire organization changes for the better. Now the question is, are all these outcomes guaranteed with coaching? No, but they are guaranteed only when the client is intrinsically motivated to make changes, not because somebody asked them to change. It is because they want to make that change desperately. Second is only when both the client and the coach trust in this whole process, right? So when you looked at the conversation, you may think, hey, what's the big deal in this? I also encourage my friends saying good, great, and things like that. What's the big deal? But if you actually invest in a proper coaching engagement and go in it, and I repeat the word invest, there has to be money involved in it. If you do not put money involved in your coaching process, you will never take it seriously. You will keep saying, I'll wake up tomorrow. I'll wake up tomorrow. I'll overtake next month. I'll overtake after 1 year. That will keep on going. It'll never go. But only when you put a reasonable amount of money in your personal improvement or your team's improvement will you actually commit to action item, and yes, you will start making progress. And only when client does all the work. This is a mantra that uh, you will hear from all the coaches, right? This is going to be successful only when you do the work, only when you get up, only when you actually go and overtake, right? Only when you actually go stand on the stage and make a presentation. Otherwise you're not never going to get rid of the fear of presentation. So no matter how much ever the coaches tell you or beautifully word those sentences, unless the client does the work, you're never going to see these outcomes coming up. So this is about a bit about the coaching intervention, and I'm just going to the final bit, a small bit, to talk about a career in coaching. This is especially useful for anyone or for any leader who aspires to be a coach. Let me tell you, anybody can become a coach, but I would strongly recommend that people do it, especially the budding HR professionals or training professionals or anyone, gain a lot of experience both professionally and in life, accept opportunities, and also welcome the pains that you're getting in your life, because you really grow out of the pain. And when you have experienced all of that, there is a lot more wisdom that settles into you, and you can use that wisdom to ask those powerful questions to your clients, right? So give it some time. And this is something that I've noticed over a period of time. So, about 20 or 25 years back, the newspapers used to flash job vacancy advertisements for training manager, wanted training manager. After a few years, it became we want training and development manager. Then, after a few years, it became learning and development manager. The name just changed. T&D became L&D. So, the name just changed. And finally, these days, what's happening is people are quite casually asking for, we have a job vacancy for LNOD professional, learning and organizational development professional. As you know, I mean, from the previous slides, we saw the differences between a skill-based training and organizational development. These two are slightly different. And with from these slides, the intention was never to say or undermine one over the other. It was never to say that OD is better than or superior than training. Both of them are equal, right? So both of them are equal and equally necessary for an organization to go through, or even for an individual to go through. So these days, people seem to be just casually saying, I want an L&D manager. So the question that we have to ask is, can any trainer or anybody play the role of a coach then? For me to call myself as an LNOD manager, can I just like that play the role? The answer is, well, yes, with the right academic blend. So normally in a coach education, if you want to become a coach, the coach education covers some of these important topics like frameworks from clinical psychology, cognitive behavior theory, neuroscience, neuro-linguistic programming, appreciative inquiry, and fundamentals on positive psychology. These are some of the subjects that you talk about. You will also learn about the legalities in coaching, right? So things like, what if your best friend asks you to coach her? Or what if your cousin brother asks you, or your husband asks you to coach him, right? So can you do such things? Or what if a person who's undergoing therapy or psychiatric treatment is on psychotic medication, right? What if that person comes and says, please, can you coach me? Then what should you do, right? And what if they don't tell you that they're going through the therapy? Then how should you identify, how can you unearth the red flags from their conversation, right? So these are some of the legalities involved. That's also another subject. Besides, there's a rigorous practice that they put us through with developing active listening, empathy, direct communication, the courage to directly confront the client during the coaching conversation. But it's not a fight, it's a very healthy must needed confrontation that has to happen, right? Planning and goal setting. How much is the coach helping the individual to come up with action plans and achieving it until the big goal is achieved? So these bubbles that you see, this pink and purple bubbles, these are qualities that most of us must be already having inherently. The only thing is it varies in degrees, and in coach education there is a lot of emphasis in coming up with these competencies, or it's underlined, it's very pronounced, you have to display this in your demonstrations in coaching. So because these bubbles are the ones, more than the subjects, of course the subjects are important, but these bubbles are the ones which will really elicit the kind of response from the client, right? So if you're not empathetic with the client, they can easily make out, they are never going to open up. How much ever you are good at in these subjects, if you're not empathetic with your client, or if the trust is not there, or if they feel you're not genuinely complimenting them, it may all fall flat. The client is never going to open up. They will have a neural shutdown, which means they will keep quiet. They're not going to open up much. Okay. So that's one. And finally, I would like to end this webinar by letting you know that um, L and OD is possible if you have the will and determination, and if you have taken the efforts to bring in that uh, academic blend to yourself. Because from Minds in Transition, as you see, these are three service offerings that I do. One is this coaching, training, and strategic HR consulting. All three are three different hats. Okay. So with regards training, what I do is communication skills, personality development, business etiquette, which I impart to workforce of various companies across any industry. And to me, the imagery that comes to my mind when I do training and when I do coaching with somebody is, with training, it feels as if I'm sitting on this bicycle and I have my client, as my pioneer, and we are bicycling. Okay. So the each rotation of the wheel is quicker, but the distance that each rotation covers is a smaller one, but it is essential. With coaching, I feel as if I'm sitting on the road roller, and the client is also there pioneering me there on the road roller, and each movement of the wheel is a huge slow one, but it's very huge. But every rotation, the distance that it covers is a big one. So you need, in an organization or for your own personal self, you need both the cycle as well as the road roller. You can never leave one or trade one for the other, right? So with that note, I would like to call it today, and I'm open for Q&A though. And these are my contact coordinates. In case you would like to understand further about this intervention, these are the places where you can find me. So yes, thank you. Thank you once again. Thanks, and welcome. You have made it a point to tune in today. So that shows that a lot of people from India are showing interest in coaching. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ati. Thank you for a wonderful session. Before we leave, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Okay. What's the future for coaching in India? I haven't seen any prevalent coaches in India, especially with the larger organization. They don't even have coaches. Very few organizations hire coaches, or they have in-house coaches. So
Yeah.
what's the future of coaching in India?
Right. Yeah. Yes, Sachin, you are right. And that's the reason in my final note, I said, it's nice to see people showing interest in coaching, because this particular intervention is now popular and prevalent in North America. There, even individuals or a retired person hires a life coach, okay, for all their goals, because we as human beings are never satisfied with attaining one goal. We don't stop with it. Just like the Maslow's hierarchies, needs theory. When one goal is attained, we want something else. We want something else. We want something else. So that in itself is an opportunity for coaches, okay, to latch on. But yes, in India, it is yet to be popular, but good that it is slowly percolating into the country. And opportunities like this for us coaches to talk about it is something, I'm hoping that people will know and can actually take it up. Um, what I'm seeing is, when doing one-on-one coaching, a lot of people seem to be starved or are very thirsty for this kind of a coaching intervention. Why I'm saying is, a housewife whom I coached about 2 years back, she's somebody with a lot of potential, but she never has this confidant in her life. Although she's married, she has 2 children, she's got a lot of friends, but not even one friend is that very confidential types. She really didn't mind spending on coaching because we have the confidentiality in place and there is no judgment from the coach to judge any of her issues or whatever. So that's one side of a story. So people are beginning to find goodness in coaching. The other answer for your future in coaching is especially using data analytics. As we know, artificial intelligence and data analytics is are the buzzwords today. So when you're coaching somebody, in fact, I'm self-coaching myself for a lot of things. And I have a personal journal, which I have been maintaining since 2017, an Excel spreadsheet, which has a lot of graphs and charts. And all these graphs and charts are about things like, did I work out today? Um, how was my mental health today? So I do all these things during bedtime to track how that particular day was. And it's not that I'm living a robotic life, but I had to do it from 2017. That was the time I started my coach education as well. So this is a kind of data analytics because my mental health was very bad until such point. So I was seeing that almost 200 or more than 300 days out of 365 days in a year, I was stressed out. I was not being myself. I had lost my spontaneity and things like that. So I started to track all of it. And so that's a small example of an individual's data analysis. So just imagine if you are extrapolating to an organization using the details and the trends in the data analytics, you can so nicely do this coaching process with your client. So you can actually ask your client to start tracking some of these things, right? And what I discovered in my own personal data analytics was, as my mental health improved in 2020, my mental health is way better than it used to be in 2017. Um, as it improved, I'm also tracking the number of concrete tasks that I'm doing per day. I'm seeing the number of tasks that I'm able to do also increasing. So there is a good correlation between positive psychology and how much you can achieve in life. And this is what I'm plotting on the number line as flourishing. An individual flourishes, you become so capable of doing so much work. You can do multitasking, that and this, so much more. So yeah, data analytics and coaching will be a wonderful future.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So thank you, Aarti, for the wonderful session. Let's call it a day, and we'll end this session over here.
Sure. Thank you so much. Namaste.